The seaside resort of Kribi, a veritable component to boost economic growth and foster development as the tourism industry strives for survival amidst COVID-19. Tonight we unveil the picturesque town and benefits of the sea. Working for academic excellence while pupils are at home due to the coronavirus outbreak, senators of the Central Region produce and distribute guidebooks to heads of public and private institutions. One of Cameroon's business moguls and enterprising souls, Victor FOTSO, is laid to rest in his native BANDJOUN. The Secretary General of the CPDM Central Committee, Jean Kwete, represents President Paul Biya at the funeral today. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of this.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Welcome back. We begin our half-hour newscast with the tourism sector that is striving to survive amidst the coronavirus. In the South region, in spite of the recent fire incidents, at the Regional Delegation of Tourism, efforts are being made to keep this sector booming. Endowed with natural, cultural and tourist resources, Kribi remains a major destination for tourists that should be preserved for posterity. Cynthia Saptala paints a vivid picture of the sandy beaches and the seaside resort.
It's one of the few places in Cameroon with a breathtaking view of the horizon. Kribi, resort town in the Ocean Division of the South region, is known for its sandy beaches, deep sea port and fresh fish, often found on the menus of restaurants.
When you are looking at the sea so far, so it gives you a very good picture. So people enjoy to see it and then to swim.
Apart from the view on the Atlantic Ocean and the Lobe waterfalls, people in and out of the territory are attracted to this city because of its sea and water activities.
Many people, they are coming in the various places to do a competition, okay? And then they have boat, kind and types of boat, only to get fish and a big fish, and that competition make people to come everywhere around Cameroon. About
3 hours from Yaoundé and 2 from its economic capital, Kribi is also known to provide favorable conditions for economic activities.
Kribi is a deep sea. That means that you can have boats coming abroad. They can't stay maybe in Douala or somewhere else. They can stop only in Kribi. And for that, we have many activities around.
At the mouth of the Kineke River stands one of history's remnants from the German colonial period, that of Kribi's lighthouse, built in 1906, still in use today.
The sea in Kribi is undoubtedly the most indispensable and valuable resource of the inhabitants of the town. Not only does it provide economic advantages derived from boating and fishing activities, it is also a source of employment for the majority of the youth. El Sinji reports that it improves on well-being as swimming in the sea actively impacts wellness and health.
Seashores of Kribi in the South region, which extend into the Atlantic Ocean, is one of the touristic sites of the city. Major economic activities are carried out offshore the wide sandy beaches. As a result, investors have constructed restaurants, hotels and bars to impact the socio-economic activities of both the inhabitants and visitors.
Though tourists come to Kribi for the sea, but we, the hoteliers, benefit because we give out rooms, serve food. In fact, it generates income and creates employment to the youth.
Other petty businesses like photography, fishing and others are carried out offshore of Ngoye, Tara and Grand Batanga beaches.
When there is no illness like coronavirus, we make profit from photography. It puts food Because when tourists are in Kribi, they want nice photos.
This natural endowment upholds the image of Kribi as one of Cameroon's main touristic and income-generating towns.
Senators of the Central Region are working tirelessly to beat the coronavirus in Cameroon. Beyond the distribution of anti-COVID-19 material to the population, they have produced a manual to assist pupils in their studies. The manual for secondary school learners was initiated with the collaboration of the non-governmental organization known as PATYCHOU 2020. The guidebooks were distributed to the divisional delegates of secondary education and heads of mission schools in Yaoundé. Charles Anyangwe tells us more.
As a result of the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in the school milieu, senators of the Central Region, the NGO PATYCHOU 2020, and officials of the Central Regional Delegation of Secondary Education came up with a project to produce a manual to assist students to study even when their teachers are not present. After the completion of the project, the final product was presented to the public this Saturday and is made up of 4 components.
The first part is for Francais. In the second part, we have science, pure sciences. And in the third part, we have human sciences. And the last part, Anglais.
One of the components lays emphasis on the benefit of French-speaking students studying English language.
We have practical exercises that lead the students into understanding what type of questions they will be asking the exams, and they will have equally typical examination questions over the years, which the students can use to revise.
The Central Regional Delegate for Secondary Education, the representative of the NGO PATYCHOU 2020, as well as the spokesman of senators of the Central Region, highlighted the importance of this project at this period of COVID-19. Senator Na Ondua stated why they had to sponsor the project.
At the end of the year, children will be best able to do their exam.
All the Central Divisional Delegates for Secondary Education and the Education Secretaries for the different religious denominations receive their manuals free of charge and will be distributed to students as they prepare for their exams and the opening of the new school year.
Now over in the Littoral region, the European Union has also reached out to the personnel of the Douala Port Authority. They were donated medical and hygiene gadgets to protect the workers from the contagious coronavirus. Details with Dixon Ashu.
Here is just an exhibit of the package from EU's West and Central African Port Security Program, comprising hygiene and medical kits labeled in terms of equipment and other items for immediate or long-term individual and collective use. Thermoflashes, face masks of different characteristics, hand sanitizers, medical protection suits and others to accompany other measures already adopted against the pandemic by the port management.
Port security nowadays is not more only concerning terrorism or piracy, but the health strength is finally a very big part of port security.
The Douala Seaport is the country's main maritime gateway and thus a potential opening for contamination. WECAP's concern by this donation is to ensure security in all aspects, including health.
The project WECAPS is a world project for West Africa and Central Africa on security and safety. Not know if we say. And with the crisis, we try to help the different entity ports in the continent.
The package is concise and adds to other international assistance that have come in to fight against the coronavirus pandemic in the country.
In a related development, the Isolation Center for COVID-19 patients at the Douala Port Authority has been inaugurated. The rapid testing, consultation and treatment units for the coronavirus meant for workers of the port and other companies was inaugurated by the Director General, Cyrus Ngo. It was named after the late CEO of the Dockers Union, Jean-Claude Genoni, who initiated the project but unfortunately succumbed to the virus. Veronica Benyala tells us more.
Since the outbreak of the coronavirus in Cameroon, several workers of the Ports Authority of Douala and those of other institutions operating within the port zone have been victims.
We know that there are all another centers in the town, but you are trying to take care of those who are inside the port, so they will not be going very far to be making a checkup and so on.
Mr. Jean-Claude Gainoni, then Chief Executive Officer of the Dockers Union, spearheaded the initiative to create a rapid consultation and isolation center for workers. He was unfortunately killed by the coronavirus before the project reached maturity. The Director General of the Ports Authority, Mr. Cyrus Ngor, while inaugurating the COVID-19 unit, honored the memory of Mr. Gainoni by baptizing the health center in his name.
The idea comes from Mr. Jean-Claude Gainoni, who was the PCA of CDS. He has the idea to do something like that, and then we are allowed to accompany him to that project. It is why the project is settled down.
It should be noted that the health center, with a COVID-19 isolation and observation capacity of 9 beds, is open to all persons working in all the institutions operating within the Douala-Bonaberi Port Zone.
Still on the coronavirus fight, academic institutions in Mesamena have received sanitation material and face masks to keep the coronavirus at bay in the school milieu. The benefactor is the Circle of Reflection and Action for the Development of Mesamena. Alice Mbe has the details of the goodwill action.
The consignment of sanitary materials consists of water gallons, cartons of soap and face masks, thermoflash and solar energy equipment. They were handed over to the school authorities of the Government Bilingual High School and Government Technical High School Mesamena by the President of Circle of Reflection and Action for Development of Mesamena.
Our hope is that these young have a framework of their education which permit them to be the creator of enterprises. So we are glad to come here to respond, to answer to the interpellation of the head of state, who asked us to be around the youth, who asked us to be around the population to help them to fight against coronavirus.
The beneficiaries have expressed satisfaction with the gifts.
I'm feeling very happy. It will enable us to better bring our students in their various classes so that they can follow the instructions of the government very well.
The Subdivisional Officer of Mesamena, Abana Vilongo Desiree, expressed gratitude for the gesture and urged the school authorities to make good use of the gifts to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic in this region. The president of CRADEM, on his part, called on the attention of students to always wear their face masks before leaving for school, wash hands frequently with soap and running water, and to continue practicing distancing measures.
Main markets in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, have been receiving teams from the Ministry of Territorial Administration who sensitized on the deadly coronavirus pandemic. The officials of the Department of Civil Protection also distributed face masks and other protective gears to the traders and the population. Ghislaine Kwa tells us more.
The anti-COVID-19 sensitization campaign in Yaoundé crisscrossed the Mokolo, Mfundi, Etudi and Okuno markets, amongst others, raising awareness on the threat of the coronavirus. To empower the traders in the battle against the coronavirus, they also handed over packets of face masks to the different market masters and support materials to district health centers in order to reinforce COVID-19 testing centers.
Our site in Simbok is very far for them, so we know that they will be satisfied to know that they can come here easily and do the test.
We are very happy with this mask because it protects us against the illness that's outside.
The operation carried out by the Department of Civil Protection in the Ministry of Territorial Administration to intensify the fight against the coronavirus in crowded spaces is quite satisfactory.
We are very satisfied. We have distributed around 9,000 masks to population. And 2 tents now, something like 300 T-shirts and many documents of sensitization.
It is hoped that with this action, inhabitants and especially the traders of Yaoundé will adopt new habits to keep the coronavirus at bay.
In other news, 4 French military officials who have come to the end of their military cooperation missions in Cameroon have been decorated by the Minister Delegate at the Presidency in charge of Defense. On behalf of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister Joseph Beti-Assomo knighted the officers with medals of the National Order of Valor and National Order of Merit. Kilian Datndifon was at the event in the Ministry of Defense and now reports for the 7:30 News.
Honor to 4 French military staff who, through Franco-Cameroon cooperation, have come to the end of their mission. Military attaché to the French Embassy to Cameroon, Colonel Yannick Agazine, decorated with the Medal of Knight of the Cameroonian Order of Valor. 3 others, Navy Commander Chatelain Sébastien, Lieutenant Colonel Quovoet Alban, who both served at the Yaoundé International War College, and Major Senior Warrant Officer Ettore Stéphane, who served at the Command and Staff College, all 4 decorated with Medals of Valor awarded by presidential decree on exceptional basis.
At the time you are preparing to leave for your country, France expressed on behalf of the Cameroonian forces the gratitude for the work you did and for the spirit of camaraderie you showcased towards Cameroonians. Cameroon will never forget you.
An honor appreciated by the recipients.
It is a feeling of satisfaction of work accomplished. I think of the great challenges still to meet to help the Cameroonian Defense Forces to protect the population in the face of the different threats in the country. But I'm confident that my successor will solve them without problems.
The Franco-Cameroon military cooperation has a common goal.
Our governments have a common interest to fight against terrorism and barbarism, to give the population a chance for development. Our defense cooperation missions are the key elements of this global action.
The send-forth ceremony was witnessed by the Secretary of State at the Ministry of Defense in charge of the National Gendarmerie Galaxy Toga and his counterpart of ex-servicemen and war victims, Kumpa Issa, the Defense Chief of Staff, the different Army Chiefs of Staff, senior military officers, and special guests.
Cameroon joins the international community to celebrate World Refugee Day with reminders that everyone, including refugees, can contribute to the development of society. Cameroon is host to some 2 million refugees from neighboring countries like the Central African Republic. A strong political will has been able to ensure their social insertion and integration. Gerard Nanji Yambe investigated on their survival in some neighborhoods in Yaoundé.
This is the Nguso neighborhood in Yaoundé, where a refugee community has been settled. They go about their activities normally.
When we came here, we had no accommodation. A goodwill Cameroonian offered us this piece of land. They are Cameroonians who understand our plight and treat us well, while others insult us as refugees.
Many of the refugees are from the Central African Republic, driven by war. They are predominantly engaged in unskilled labor.
Those who treat us well become our friends. We eat, live, play, and work together.
Though they cohabit with the host community, they, however, face some challenges.
I have worked for people for 3 months now without any wage. I can no longer work for nothing, not because we are refugees that they will treat us this way.
Some of them behave very good, more than Cameroonian insect. But some of them are very arrogant.
Amidst the COVID-19 health crisis, and like in all refugee settlements, efforts are being made to bar the way to the pandemic.
In Menawao refugee camp, which is hosting about 67,000 Nigerian refugees, we are building isolation centers.
Boasted by national and international support, Cameroon remains the land of legendary hospitality.
It is exactly 7:50 and Cameroonians are being urged to go for COVID-19 tests immediately they feel any symptoms of the disease. This, medical experts say, will immensely ease the treatment process in case they are positive. This is one of the main recommendations made tonight at the press briefing in the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Baldwin Sama is there and says apart from that, 329 persons have tested positive today. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kima, and welcome to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center this Saturday evening, where 3,686 samples were collected today, and all these samples, 3,686 of them were tested, and out of these samples, we have 329 persons tested positive for COVID-19 this Saturday in Cameroon, and we have 68 persons who have recovered from the virus, and just one Cameroonian died of COVID-19 this Saturday. As we often say, these are statistics, or these are figures that concern the different regions greatly affected as far as the spread of COVID-19 is concerned, and health professionals in Cameroon continue in their ongoing move to try as much as possible to save as many lives as possible in this ongoing fight against COVID-19 in the country. And tonight, with our resource person, Dr. Eric Tanzi, who is a public health expert in the Ministry of Public Health, we wish to look at what's most referred to as auto-medication on the part of some persons who are yet to be tested positive for COVID-19. Good evening, Doctor.
Yeah, good evening, buddy.
Doctor, tell us, as an expert, is it advisable for an individual who has not yet been tested positive for COVID-19, but on the other hand, he has noticed some for these symptoms or signs and symptoms of COVID-19 prevailing as far as his health is concerned, to go in for auto-medication?
Yeah, but you know, at all time, it's not advisable to go for auto-medication. Maybe in the past or at the beginning of the pandemic, we could have said this could have been the case because of long time awaiting results. But that is not the case as far as today is concerned, because the head of state has made available rapid test within 15 minutes for everyone. So if you notice any abnormality or any signs and symptoms, it is advisable for you to move to any diagnostic center. You know, with decentralization, many centers have been allocated as far as COVID diagnosis is concerned. Diagnosis here, we are referring to testing. So there is no need for you to start auto-medication as far as you observe signs and symptoms. Simply rush to the nearest health facility or testing center within your community for a confirmed test or clearance of what you might be suspecting, because having one of the signs and symptoms doesn't mean you are COVID positive, but it is only after diagnosis that you can be closer to certainty.
And finally, Doctor, what do you say about those who decide to go in for vitamins? They decide to buy vitamins and consume them in order for them to boost their immune system, because there are more and more vitamins that are being prescribed by some health professionals to individuals, so as for them to be able to boost their immune system, for them not to be liable to being infected with COVID-19.
Yeah, I want to appreciate this question here, because when it comes to vitamins, you've used the word prescribed by a health professional. Is not the case of auto-medication here. If an individual is in front of a health professional and the health professional deemed that this individual needs vitamin, this will be prescribed. But if this individual is taking it for security reasons or to boost the immunity, I think it might be possible to do such, but then you have to take cognizance what kind of vitamin you're taking. We have a variety of vitamins that exist in the whole chain, but now what type, and based on individual context. So it might be helpful. At all times, vitamins are good for the body, but what kind of vitamin and what kind of health status? So we should be very careful with what we take. as far as this challenging moment is concerned. Vitamin is good, it boosts the immune system, but other issues as well should be taken into consideration. So here it is good to note that it is important for each and every one to seek medical advice irrespective of the condition. It's not only for COVID, but for other conditions that might arise.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for those answers to our questions. Public health experts of this Emergency Operations Center have used the opportunity to continue reminding Cameroonians to make use of the different screening centers available in the different regions of the country. The doctor was saying a while ago, go get yourself screened for COVID-19. We have rapid test kits available, and you get to know your status after a few minutes. And if you discover any symptoms or any signs of as far as COVID-19 is concerned, be it on your part or that of your neighbor, don't hesitate to dial the toll-free number 1510 and get the needed answer to your worries. 3,586 samples were collected today, with 329 persons tested positive for COVID-19. 68 persons have recovered from the virus in Cameroon this Saturday, with one Cameroonian who died of COVID-19 this Saturday. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Thank you very much, Baldwin, for those clarifications. It is important to note that automedication is strongly condemned. Get tested, and if you're positive, get treated with the help of a medical expert. The United Nations system is also concerned about the spread of the coronavirus in Cameroon and has agreed to complement government's communication strategy. At an exchange with the Minister of Communication, René Madol Sadi, the resident coordinator of the UN system, Allegra Bayoche, outlined their communication plan. Here's an excerpt.
Hate speech today is a critical issue for every country. It touches all aspects of political life, religious life, and we were just talking about COVID and how we've seen hate speech and fake news affecting our COVID response, and how this has to be a priority. It is a priority for the UN. We have developed an action plan, which I presented to the minister. I wanted to get his advice, but also his support. So we have agreed to work together on putting this in action. We are lucky to have funding to already start working on this, and we have agreed that we need to work at community level using radios. We need to work in schools to start educating children and youth, and it's obviously capacity building of press, of journalists, but also of those who decide, so the higher-ups, the editors-in-chiefs, the owners of media outlets, but also anyone who uses social media. Today, any one of us can be a producer of fake news or hate speech, or inversely can promote peace, can promote understanding among peoples.
We should bear in mind that negligence by a single individual can seriously harm the entire community.
Some councils of the North region have benefited from funds from the program for the economic and social development of secondary cities. It is intended to promote socio-economic progress and the amelioration of infrastructure in the education sector. It is done with the collaboration of the European Union and FEICOM. Tony Nanyongo tells us more.
Basheyo, Madingring and Tuboro of the North region are among the 15 across the country covered by the program for the economic and social development of secondary cities exposed to instability factors known as PRODEVs. The program, which seeks to strengthen capacities to face crisis, host displaced persons and promote inclusive socio-economic development, is still in its pilot phase, and projects being executed based on the needs expressed by beneficiaries include, among others, the development of infrastructure, especially in the education sector.
We want the councils to be able to build some infrastructures and also to help the population, the young in particular, to prepare their own projects, to prepare their small enterprises.
The motorbikes and computers have thus been given to the 3 councils to ease the work of technicians following up projects in target localities.
Our council count many villages and they will move to control and to identify the need and give us feedback.
During the ceremony to hand over the items, Governor Jean Abate Edi called on mayors to come up with good projects that can be financed within the more than 13 billion francs European Union funded program implemented by FECOM.
Ministers of Arts and Culture in the Central African sub-region have been assessing the resilience of artists during this COVID-19 period, with cultural activities crippled. The Regional Bureau of UNESCO for Central Africa, through a virtual meeting, has urged for the creation of content. Minister Bidung Pat also hailed the Artists All Against COVID-19 initiative to distribute face masks, as we hear this report by Emmanuel Avemnu.
With the cancellation of cultural events, suspension of professional contracts of artists, and temporary closure of showrooms, the cultural world in Central Africa has been on a hold for the past 3 months. Each Minister of Arts and Culture in the sub-region, through this virtual meeting, is presenting what these men and women of culture have been doing to keep their art awake.
Conscious of the gravity of the crisis on the cultural sector, the government has engaged in its restructuring. A proposed bill to this effect is expected to be tabled to competent authorities, put in place a center for the promotion of cultural tourism online. The artists are currently distributing 8,000 face masks nationwide.
Homage is paid to artists in Central Africa who have lost their lives to the dreaded COVID-19, as a multitude now work on cultural projects like the development of a virtual museum by Cameroonian artists, among others.
Some of us have had to get into a new phenomenon of doing shows through Facebook, counting on the number of views, on the number of likes, on the number of subscriptions. We are hoping that Facebook and YouTube will pay. Artists have had to sing for people in their homes. We are just barely surviving.
They say they are using this slump period in cultural activities to create content.
On a sad note, Cameroonian business magnate patriarch Victor FOTSO, who died in Paris, France at the age of 94, has been buried at his native BANDJOUN in the West region. The head of state, Paul Biya, was represented at the funeral by the Secretary General of the CPDM Central Committee, Jean Kwete. Kelvin Nembo reports on the burial preceded by a requiem mass attended by state dignitaries and well-wishers.
A nation builder, unifier of people, veritable statesman, frontline actor of participatory development, FOTSO Victor was, according to testimonies during his funeral, reason why government ministers, members of parliament, and dignitaries from far and near joined family members at his BANDJOUN residence to pay him last tributes. The Secretary General of the CBDM Central Committee, Jean Kwete, who personally represented the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, decorated the late mayor with the Medal of the Agricultural Order of Merit as a sign of recognition for several decades of hard work. He also took part in a special mass session at the Our Lady of Victory Chapel, St. Therese BANDJOUN, during which the clergy prayed for the repose of the soul of the late business magnate who constructed and offered the BANDJOUN Town Hall worth over 5 billion CFA francs to the government, talk less of other projects of general interest. The main message preached by the Bishop of Bafoussam Diocese, His Lordship Dieudonné Ouatsu, was straight and simple, that Christians should walk in accordance to God's word, as the Patriarch who constructed so many churches nationwide and offered the sum of 1 billion CFA francs for the construction of the Bafoussam Cathedral did. FOTSO Victor, who passed on in France last March the 20th, might be gone, but his legacy lives on.
And may his soul rest in peace. In sports, 3 days to this year's Olympic Day, which will be celebrated in the absence of major sporting events, we profile Cameroon's 2-time Olympic gold medalist. Françoise Mbango Etone holds the Olympic record for triple jump, which she set in 2008. Baldwin Sama caught up with her as she advises that athletes must keep working while staying conscious that the coronavirus is real.
She remains so far the lone Cameroonian individual athlete to have secured 2 gold medals for the country at the Olympic Games. Françoise Mbango Etone today remains a flag bearer of Cameroon's National Olympic and Sports Committee to promote Olympic values. The absence of sport activities ahead of the upcoming Olympic Day, Françoise Mbango Etone advises Cameroonian athletes to respect anti-COVID barrier measures.
Respect all barrier measures outlined by the government and the World Health Organization because it permits you to be safe, for without a sound health, you can't do anything.
She calls on athletes to control their diets in order to maintain their shape, be mentally stable, and to remain positive. Françoise Mbango equally calls for the respect of Olympic values.
There are values like determination. There are values like the respect for one another. Others, such as acceptance to know that we must not always win. Others too can win.
She looks forward to grooming future gold medalists just like her.
And that will be all for this edition of the 7:30 p.m. newscast. Tonight, Karine Olivier will be yours at 8:30 p.m. for the news in the French language. Stay tuned to our programs on CRTV. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. God willing, meantime, stay protected, for the coronavirus is real.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.